Okay, today we're installing the DFX fork valve in a GB500 TT, little Honda. You can see we've got one fork cap off here, so essentially jack the bike up so there's no pressure on the forks. Pop the the caps I should say, and remove the preload. And we also need to remove the spring down gently. Spring exposes itself. You want to put some rags down before you start. A bit of a mess as it comes out here with a bit of oil. Not too bad. The oil won't hurt anything. It's just a mess. Suspension's at full compression. Use one of these little jiggers. They're about $8 from Super Cheap Auto. They grab a hold of the valve. You want the nut side of the valve up, and we're going to put it down into the fork tube. And when it gets to the bottom, you'll actually feel it. You can locate it. You will actually feel it when it's right. It'll just sit nice and neatly in there. You can actually wiggle it from side to side a bit, and you'll feel when it's nice and flush. So then we just let it go. And that's in. Now drop the other one in as we're going. So now you want to just then set your oil level to your manufacturer's specification for the air gap. Or if the manufacturer specifies a volume, we will give you the air gap specific to your bike. So in the GB's case, we're going to set that to the recommended air gap. Now you don't need anything as fancy as this, but this is what we use. So that's actually set to 140 millimeters air gap down the tube. You can use anything, a ruler, whatever. Just then obviously got to work out how you can get your oil in and out to get it down to that 140 millimeter level. Okay, so with this fancy little jigger, we suck the extra volume. We've overfilled the fork, and now this will actually just suck any excess oil down to 140 millimeters. As you can see here, you actually use the back side of the fork. So where the oil would be highest to the rear of the bike is where you want to measure. The viscosity of the oil, in this case it's 10 weight, but we will send that to you depending on which bike your valve is for. Okay, so these are aftermarket springs, but it doesn't matter what you've got. Use the same as what you've already got. So same spring, same preload spacer. So in this case, we've got this made out of a bit of poly pipe, but just use whatever you've got in your bike currently, or if you are looking to change anything, just go by the factory manual settings. Now a note, the valve that's obviously in here is going to give you another, say, 10 mil, or maybe not quite, but of preload effectively. Don't worry about that. Most bikes are far too soft in their preload. If you find that you're not happy with that preload, obviously you can then take a little bit back off your spacer, but we'd recommend putting it back in, including with the new valve in there. Leave it the way it was and try it to start with. Okay, so we're going to put the springs back in after checking our oil on both sides. Jack the bike back up again. So if you're just making it easy on ourselves, if you're a monster and you can somehow magically get that back up and your fork cap's in, we'll do it whichever way you like. So grab our spacers and our fork caps. And it's as easy as that. Before and after video for the GB500. So this is without the DFX valve in at the front at the start. We've got it on the jack. So that's at full extension. And what we're going to do now is just let it down and show you how much preload the bike has in the first place, which is quite a bit. You really don't need that much preload. That's without a rider as well. So check your factory settings to see what they suggest, but it just goes to show that you don't need to worry too much about the extra space that the valve gives you inside. You'll see in the other videos.